Okay, let's dive deep. You're traveling back, way back actually, ancient India, the time of the Buddha.
Right. And we've got this fascinating story today. It comes from a specific text, the Pañcaggadāyaka Brāhmaṇavatthu.
That's quite a name. And the story itself, well, it seems simple at first glance, doesn't it? A generous Brahmin, his wife, the Buddha showing up at mealtime.
Exactly. But it really unfolds into something much deeper. A quite surprising lesson, really.
But what it truly means to be a renunciant, a bhikkhu, it challenges some ideas.
It definitely does.
So our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack this story you brought. We'll look at the characters, this unique tradition he had.
The giving tradition, yeah.
The whole encounter, the twist, and then really dig into the Buddha's teaching that comes out of it.
And see what insights we can maybe pull out for ourselves, today.
Sounds good. So let's start with the main character, this Brahmin, Pañcaggadāyaka.
Yeah, and his name tells us a lot, right? Giver of 5 first offerings.
5 first offerings. That's very specific. The source actually details this quite clearly. He had this practice.
A unique one.
Of giving away the absolute first portion of the food. Not just once, but at 5 different points in the whole process.
Yeah, think about it. From the very beginning, when the grain field was cleaned, first portion given.
Okay.
Then when the grain's collected on the threshing floor, in another portion. And when it goes into the cooking pot.
Another one.
Another one. And even the very first bit served onto the plate. That's 5.
Wow. And the source says he never ate himself until he'd given that first bit away to whoever showed up.
Never. That was his rule. An incredible commitment, really.
Absolutely embedded in his daily routine. So let's picture the scene then. It's mealtime.
Right. The Brahmin's sitting there eating. Importantly, his back is to the door. He can't see who might arrive.
And the Buddha, sensing this is the right moment, that they're ready for something.
Sees the potential, yeah. So he just goes and stands at their door. Very simply.
But the Brahmin, facing away, he doesn't see him. His wife, though. She's serving the food.
She turns, and there's the Buddha, and you can almost feel her mind racing.
Yeah, that internal conflict. She knows her husband's rule.
Exactly, and she thinks, oh no, if he sees this radiant person and gives away his food.
I don't have more ready right now.
Yeah.
It's a practical concern, isn't it?
Totally. So she does this thing. The source describes it so vividly. She tries to physically block the view.
Standing behind her husband, leaning over.
Yeah, like trying to hide the full moon with her hand, it says.
Yeah, impossible. Right?
Pretty much. She keeps peeking, hoping he's gone, but nope, the Buddha's still there.
So she tries whispering.
Yeah, very quietly, pass by. Basically asking him to leave without her husband noticing.
But he doesn't. The Buddha just shakes his head, won't leave.
And that's kind of the tipping point for her.
Yeah.
She just bursts out laughing loudly.
Oh, and at the same time.
At that exact moment, the Buddha sends out this ray of light towards the house.
So the laugh and the light, that gets his attention.
Makes the Brahmin turn around, and he sees the Buddha.
Finally. And his first reaction is, well, not quite reverence.
No, it's annoyance. With his wife. He's like, why didn't you tell me? Calls it a serious misdeed because this visitor is clearly important. The source uses the term Rajaputta.
Like a prince or someone significant.
Yes. But then, almost immediately, that ingrained habit kicks in.
The generosity.
The giving. It overrides the frustration. He looks down at his own plate.
Which he's already started eating from.
Half-eaten, yeah. And he just picks it up and offers it to the Buddha.
Now, okay, this is where I thought, maybe the Buddha would politely decline.
Yeah.
Leftovers and all that.
That's what you might expect, but no.
Yeah.
He accepts it. And the source says he states quite clearly that the first part, the middle part, even the last part of the food, it's all fitting for him.
All fitting. And he gives a reason.
He does. And it was quite stark, actually. He says, we Brahmin, meaning himself and the monks, live dependent on what others give.
Okay.
Like beings in the realm of hungry ghosts, the Petas.
Wow. Comparing renunciants to Petas. Beings known for suffering and clinging. That's powerful.
It really is. It highlights that absolute dependence on others' generosity. And he doesn't stop there. He recites a verse.
From the Dhammapada.
Yes, verse 257. It talks about the almsgatherer, the bhikkhu, who accepts food from any part, beginning, middle, end.
And what does the verse say about that?
It says, such a person isn't to be praised, but also not to be viewed with contempt or criticized. And crucially, wise sages know this.
Okay. So the Brahmin, he sees this figure, this prince, accepting his half-eaten meal, talking about being like hungry ghosts, quoting scripture. He must be what? Impressed, confused.
Moved, certainly. Impressed enough that it sparks a question in him, right there at the door.
What does he ask?
He asks, Master Gautama, you call your disciples bhikkhus. By how much, like what's the actual measure, the standard? Is one truly called a bhikkhu? He wants the real definition.
Ah, so we're getting to the core teaching now, prompted by this whole meal situation.
Exactly. And the Buddha's answer is incredibly direct. Cuts right through.
What does he say?
He says a person is called a bhikkhu who doesn't crave for or cling to name and form, nāmarūpa.
Nāmarūpa. Name and form. He gives a verse for this too.
He does, essentially repeating and clarifying. He who has no possessiveness whatsoever in name and form, and who does not grieve because of its non-existence, he indeed is called a bhikkhu.
Okay, name and form, nāmarūpa. Let's unpack that because it sounds, well, a bit abstract maybe.
It does, but the commentary helps. It explains that nāmarūpa isn't just, a name and a physical shape. It's comprehensive. It refers to the 5 aggregates.
Ah, the 5 aggregates. That's central in Buddhism. So form the physical body.
Right. And then feeling, perception, mental formations, like thoughts, intentions.
And consciousness itself. So basically, everything that makes up our moment-to-moment experience of being a person.
Pretty much, yeah. It's the whole package of what we identify as me and my world.
So no possessiveness whatsoever in name and form means not clinging to any of that, not seeing it as me or mine.
Exactly. No grasping, not identifying with the body, the feelings, the thoughts as some permanent inherent self. Understanding they're just processes, phenomena.
Okay. And the second part, does not grieve because of its non-existence.
That's about impermanence. It means when these aggregates name and form inevitably change, decay, cease, you don't fall into sorrow or despair.
Because you understand that's just their nature.
Precisely. You see that what arises must also pass away. You see the perishing of phenomena as simply the perishing of phenomena, not as a loss of self.
So it's a deep acceptance of impermanence, not just intellectually, but emotionally.
Yes. The commentary sums it up. Even while name and form is present, this person is free from possessiveness towards it. And crucially, when it ceases, they don't grieve. That person is called a bhikkhu.
A definition based entirely on inner freedom, not outer appearance.
Absolutely.
And the effect of this teaching?
The Brahman and his wife.
Well, the story concludes beautifully. It says that right there at the end of this discourse, both of them attained the anagami fruit. Anagami, that's huge, the non-returner stage, just before full awakening.
Exactly, freed from rebirth in the lower realms. It shows just how powerful this seemingly simple encounter and teaching was. Beneficial for everyone there, the text notes.
Wow. From a half-eaten meal and a blocked doorway to near enlightenment.
It's quite a story.
It really is. So let's leave our listeners with this definition to think about. A bhikkhu defined not by robes, but by this inner state. No craving, no clinging to name and form, this whole package of experience.
And no grieving when it changes or disappears.
Right. So maybe think about that in your own life. We all cling, don't we, to things, people, ideas, our sense of who we are, this name and form.
Definitely.
How might really understanding these components of experience as impermanent and cultivating that non-attachment, that non-grieving, how might that change how you face loss or change or just life?
This ancient definition, born from such a simple moment, really asks us to look at our own clinging.
And maybe points toward a kind of peace, the peace that could come from truly letting go. Something to consider.